Didn't say anything. Hello, Savannah Johnson. If you can't hear me, that's why I put podcast. So, it's not good. Parking, are you back Alright, I'll be back. Enjoy this podcast. No.
Road trip you've been meaning to take. Certified for your growing family. Certified for small steps and big leaps. No matter where the road may take you this season, Volvo hopes you enjoy every moment and are confident in the certified by Volvo vehicle you've trusted to take you there. Contact your Volvo retailer today.
At McDonald's, our customers' well-being is at the heart of what we do. From how we source our food to how we deliver quality in our restaurants. And it's made possible by thousands of hardworking crew, suppliers, and the small business owners who own and operate our restaurants. Every day we help them meet the highest standards for our customers. Our commitment will never change. We will always do the right thing.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Well, Karen, I'll tell you why. Because
He's dead.
was found dead 6 or 7 months after that speech took place. That speech took place in May of 1995, the one that we've been playing for you today.
So he was a dead man talking.
Yeah, essentially. And I mean, it's kind of spooky. It's a little bit chilling when you think back to some of the clips that we played when he talks about how he was shot in the shoulder. He's had many attempts on his life. And then coincidentally, air quotes, 7 months later, in January of 1996, he's found dead in his home, strangled to death with a piano wire.
Just like in, remember the movie Marathon Man when Roy Scheider is strangled to death with a piano wire?
Right.
It cuts the throat.
That's right. And one of the things, again, what they found, the foul play was always suspected. Of course, they called it a suicide because, why not? And that's what they want you to think with somebody when somebody like that gets killed. So officially, that's what they say, but there was very distinct marks of torture when it came to Philip Schneider's body being found. There was a lot of signs of struggle, a lot of signs of a violent death, so to speak.
Yeah, and at the time this guy, Philip Snyder, was the only one brave enough to talk about all this crap.
After the great firefight, the alien-human war, I am the only living survivor talking about it worldwide at all. Only one. The other two are in nursing homes in Canada, and the Canadian government refuses to allow any U.S. people, including myself, to talk to them.
And now he's dead, and now Stephen and I, Queen Elizabeth, no, AOC, are talking about it. I'm not going to identify myself anymore because I don't want to get the piano wire around the neck.
Right.
I have a little neck.
It's scary. It is. And
It is scary.
And that's why, I mean, look, you know, not that I'm saying that it's, we really think it's going to happen, but it is a little frightening to think that this guy was essentially killed. Again, they say suicide. Let's be honest here. He's
Suicide with a piano wire?
Yeah, I mean,
really?
he's found basically tortured and beaten.
Oh, yeah, he was tortured.
Right, with piano wire wrapped around his neck. So let's be honest here. This was most likely not a suicide. So it's a little unsettling when we go and do this show and we try to find, for this particular episode, we try to find information.
I did. I was like, well, let me, just double. I'm a news person, so I wanted to double check some of this stuff.
And it's hard to find information on this guy and on his death and on the things that he's talking about here. I was lucky to find this YouTube video where we could get his words, his explanation of everything, not only from the Dulce Base War in 1979, of August 1979, but also from all the other findings that he talked about, like the different materials, like the technology that you heard here today on this episode. It's extremely fascinating.
And if you downloaded this podcast, they can track you now.
No, Karen, no! Don't say those things. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. So, but like I said,
I'm scared.
If there's no episode 7, then you know what happened to us.
You know what? He also said, and I did not know this, my dad, and I didn't know, my dad had a really high IQ. My mom, like, when I was little, she's like, your dad has a very high IQ. And I thought, okay. I found out recently he was tested multiple times at Central Michigan, and his IQ is like 197. He's top 1% of Mensa. But that aliens have an IQ in the thousands.
Right.
Here's our friend Phil.
My question I'd like to ask is this. If the aliens have a 1,200 IQ, can speak all these languages, and are so powerful, what prevents them from just taking over?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, they have taken over. All that's left is a bunch of screaming. A bunch of us that have been very complacent. Half of the 131 deep underground military bases are basic cities for them. Right underneath our feet is a macabre sight indeed. You can bet your bottom dollar they've already basically won the war.
So, again, this is 1995.
Lovely.
It makes you wonder, well, if that's the case, because it was a good question. I'm sure maybe you were wondering that as well, the question that guy asked, because it was in front of a small group in a conference hall when Philip Schneider had this talk, back 26 years ago. And after he was done, as you can hear, he took some questions from the audience that day. And it's probably a question you were asking yourself. Well, if that's the case, hey guys, what are you talking about? If he's talking about this in 1995, we're doing okay in 2021. So why haven't they taken over? Well,
they already have.
That was his answer, and again,
it explains a lot.
Well, and what do you believe? Because what I found interesting too, Karen, was when he talked about the diseases. That really struck me when we were doing the research for this episode. And we grabbed that clip there because, of course, what we think about today is COVID. Now, in 1995, he's talking about AIDS, he's talking about Ebola and different things like that because those were on the tip of everybody's tongue in 1995, especially HIV and AIDS.
Right.
Now, the thing on everybody's mind in 2021 is COVID. So it kind of...
And was it engineered?
It makes you wonder, and it kind of sent a chill down my spine when I heard that clip when we were doing the research for this, where he says, you have to ask yourself the question, are some of these diseases man-made from the bodies, from the dead bodies, the cadavers of aliens? Because apparently they carry disease, which I never really thought about before.
And we kill them too with our diseases, apparently, according to Phil Schneider.
According to his stories, right?
Well, some sources allege that horrific genetic experiments are conducted in the lower levels of this facility in Dulce, and that these levels are sometimes referred to as Nightmare Hall.
That's not a comforting name
Ugh.
because they're doing human and animal experiments, from what I've heard anyway.
And according to the legend, Project Aquarius in 1966 was a plan for investigation of UFOs carried out and funded by the CIA. Project Aquarius was slated to begin December 1969 when Project Grudge and Project Blue Book, which we
Right.
talked about last week, were closed. And in 1969, the base was built northwest of Dulce in joint agreement between the CIA, aliens, and I guess other governments? I don't know.
It's a,
It's allegedly located in the Jicarilla?
the Jicarilla.
Jicarilla, excuse
Yes.
me, Apache Indian Reservation. So, and the base gets its water and electricity from the Navajo River and dumps wastewater back into the same river. So who knows what's going on with that?
Hmm.
And the government occupies upper levels of the underground base while the aliens control the lower levels.
Right.
But it's all secret now.
Right, and that's something that is important to note too, because there's stories of cooperation between the governments and the aliens, how they work together. They allow them to do these experiments, and sometimes, things don't go very well. And look,
And they have strange sightings. They see moving lights. And then you've got the mutilation of some of the animals there, right?
yeah, that's right, the cows, and that's always very strange.
I know. It looks so perfect. And so,
The way that the things are
there's
cut
no
out.
blood.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
it's very precise. And look, we don't want to come on here and sound like crazy conspiracy tin hat foil
Yeah,
people. It's just we're giving you the information that Philip Schneider gave in 1995. We're presenting that to you, and then we kind of think from there. Think about it yourself. I mean, if he's talking about, like we said, these different diseases, I'm not sitting here saying that this is where COVID came from alien bodies, but it made me think. It struck me because of the time that we live in, where he's talking about they carry these diseases, and it made him wonder, are some of these diseases that come about, are they made from the cadavers of aliens? It might seem far-fetched, maybe it is, but it's something that maybe you make that leap yourself, and you have those own thoughts, come to your own conclusions. That's what we always like to do here on Unidentified Alien Podcast is
how it was presented from the people who experienced it.
Hello,
And make up
everybody.
your own mind. In this case today, it's really one of the most unbelievable, fantastical things that I think we're probably ever going to cover on this show. It's wild. It really is. Everything about this is wild.
I'm not sure what to think, but when you first told me about it and I first started looking into it, I thought, this guy's full of it. And then you start listening to him and you see his fingers are gone.
His fingers are gone.
And,
Yeah.
and then you find out he's dead
Right.
right after he gives this speech. Some of this is a real head scratcher.
I mean, I hate to say it, he's seemingly Epstein. Let's be honest. This is the guy who, you heard the sound there earlier in the show where he says, they don't want me talking about this. I'm the only person in the world who was in this position and saw these things and experienced these things, coming out and talking about these things. I'm breaking federal law by doing this.
International law.
International law. And, 7 months later, he's found dead with piano wire around his neck. So, if he was, let's just say, you'll go here today, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, he was a complete quack, right? And he just total non-threat, made everything up.
Then he'd be all over the internet.
Then, right, he'd still be alive today talking about it because he posed no threat. But if he did have some type of symptoms of something that he's talking about in anything, in any aspect that he's talking about, it would make sense that he's being hunted down the way that he was described and shot and saved a couple of times, and then eventually killed in January of 1996. Why else would they be going after this guy?
Exactly.
They didn't have some type of information that they didn't want to give him.
He's completely scrubbed from the internet. It's amazing.
It's hard to find information.
So next week, we're going to talk about another really weird one.
Yes.
You showed me this photo that was taken in England, and even Kodak got involved trying to investigate this photograph. I thought that's how then Paul McCartney met Linda, because she's the Kodak family.
I don't think so. Maybe we'll find out though, because we're glad we give the information on this, all this wild stuff today on episode 6 of the Unidentified Alien Podcast. But and again, make up your own minds. If you want, you can try to find more information, but it's
Yeah,
not
go
easy.
for it. If you do, let us know.
But next week on episode 7, we are going to get into another one of my favorites, the Solar Earth Spaceman.
Very true.
And
Some
it's
guy just taking a picture of his kid.
photographic evidence, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff, and we'll get into that next week. But don't forget, for every other episode, if you missed any of the previous episodes of UAP, Unidentified Alien Podcast, you can find it Apple, Spotify, wherever you find the podcast, on 850WFTL.com, where the show airs as well. You can find it there streaming all the previous episodes. Karen and I are on the South Florida Morning Show every Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m.
Alright, it's
Also the Latin Show, you hear us there as well. Not necessarily talking about aliens.
No, because they wouldn't allow it.
Sometimes we do, but for the most part, you're going to hear the deep dive on UAP. So
Yeah, and make sure you subscribe so the aliens can find you. And the government.
no, subscribe so you can get all the latest episodes. So subscribe, download it, rate it, and you can find us again anywhere you look for podcasts. All the previous episodes right there. So don't forget to check those out.
Well, Stephen Diener, mind blown.
Yeah, mine too.
Thank you so much for listening.
Talk to you again next week on UAP, Unidentified Alien Podcast. The Soul Wave for the Spaceman, coming up in episode 7. Until then, Aaron Curtis there, Stephen Diener here. Be well. Talk to you next time.
If we're still alive.
I've got a lot of grandbabies, like a lot. And when it comes to finding your kids, who has a lot of grandbabies? But this year, while I was making my way through Walmart, I realized I don't have to spend a lot to get the gifts they'll love.
I hope you guys have any nanny sets. I'm gonna do so much nail art. Oh yeah, a Lego set. My own water bottle.
Ooh, and that's just half of them.
Shop great gifts for Sugar Up for $25 and under at Walmart.
Text and identity thieves aliens. Hearing about these online threats every day can be stressful, but don't worry. McAfee Total Protection is here to help you live a worry-free life online. What does worry-free mean? Well, it means you won't have to wonder if that text message is a scam, if new threats will pop up on your PC, or if you're safe from identity theft. Visit McAfee.com/online protection today to get award-winning online protection for just $39.99 for the first year. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel anytime.
Hey, let's go. Hola, mi gente. Back to this.
Well, and I found a little tidbit. I just love impressing you with my ufology.
Yes.
Did you know that the planet Venus has been reported as a UFO more times than any other object in the universe?
Really? There's a lot of dumb people out there.
The
who don't
planet.
know it's a planet.
It's like right off the horizon, it turns different colors, and I thought that was really interesting. Look over there, it's like, no, that's Venus.
That's Venus. That is interesting, though. I didn't know that, because I've always heard, oh, well, it's a weather balloon, or it's the swamp gas reflecting into the aurora borealis or something. All these weird explanations that people come up with. Well, not so much anymore with the release of that congressional report a couple months ago, which led us to say, hey, why don't we do a podcast about all this stuff? Because they finally, Congress that is, finally acknowledged that, well, there's something out there we don't know what it is.
The topic is
essentially,
blowing up,
UFOs.
and you have been an expert on it. When did you start getting interested in it?
I want to say probably the early 2000s. Early?
Yeah,
Maybe even late 90s. So it's been a long time. It's kind of been like a hobby of mine growing up. And it's always been something that intrigued me. Just the mystery behind it. And that's what we have here today. Because last week was a doozy with Dulce base in New Mexico.
And we're still alive.
Yes, we made it.
I can't believe it.
People who killed Philip Schneider for telling that story did not come after us yet. But maybe they will after the Soul Wave for the Spaceman, because this is fascinating, and it's one of those stories that I heard a long time ago, and it's intrigued me for a long time. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and do this one this week, because this is one of those things, Karen, that did not get covered in the congressional report.
No, well, way before it.
Yeah, way before.
It didn't happen before 2004. Never mind.
And that was the thing. We thought, well, if we look back to 2004, all these reports, all these things happened in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, not to mention all the ancient times, but
Yeah, I mean, who built the pyramids?
Right. So we've been wanting to get into a lot of that stuff from previous times, and that's what we do here on the podcast. So if you've ever missed any of the episodes, please go back, listen to the previous ones wherever you find podcasts. Just search for Identified Alien Podcast.
So this thing, you sent me to the photograph. It's about a photograph that was taken on a bright sunny day. It was in the summer of 1964. I was 2. You weren't even born.
So you remember Karen? See, people don't know this. Karen is a 2-year-old would actually pick up the newspaper on Sunday morning.
I did.
3 minutes news your whole life.
Yeah, yes. I was a news consumer at 2.
That's right.
So it was a Carlisle fireman took a photo of his daughter, and it created headlines around the world. So I mean, this is radio. It's not television or YouTube. So I'm going to paint this picture of this kid. She's really cute. She's kind of got like blonde, dirty blonde hair. It's a cut in a bowl cut with bangs. It's like a severe cut. She's got on this brand new dress. It's like grassy green with red flowers on it. And she's holding a little handful of white flowers. She's kind of got a Mona Lisa smile. But behind her, there's something right over her head. And it looks like a spaceman.
And that's where the controversy comes.
With a visor. And some people, oh no, that's his wife standing, she's got her back turned to him, and that's her blonde hair.
Yeah, and it's odd because here's the thing about it. This is where the story kind of takes a strange turn, and really it's been one of the greatest photographic mysteries debated anyway for almost 60 years.
Is she sitting there in a park?
Yeah, so they went to a park.
This is her dad, Jim Templeton, and he explains what they were doing there. But there's no one around for miles behind her in the background. It's just
what they said.
It's just grass. And here he is.
She was anxious to pick some sea pigs, you know.
Sea pigs?
Because these sea pigs are gone with us. So we went out on the normal outing. And picked our spot, sat down, and I said, no, I'll take some photos of you with the new dress on.
Right, and that was really, this was just a normal family. It was a firefighter in England, near Solway. It was the Solway Firm over there. This park that they went to, and we just thought, you know what, you have this nice new dress on. My little kid, she's basically around like kindergarten age.
You know, we all disagree on a lot these days, but one thing we can all agree on, no one likes getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers. Hey guys, it's Steven Diener, and that's why I want to talk to you about Mint Mobile, because they have wireless plans at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. And there's no catch here. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online, which means no interest. Definitely would. don't buy into some of the debunked, air quotes, theories out there that say it's his wife. We'll get to that in a second. Because he took 3 consecutive pictures.
Oh, I didn't know he took 3.
3 consecutive pictures. And now, again, this is 1964, so there's no iPhones. This wasn't. Now, there were
It was on a Brownie box camera. I had a Brownie camera.
So I mean, this is an old style camera, okay? And it wasn't even like a Polaroid where it would print out and you would shake it in the air and it would develop right in front of you. No, this was something where the roll of film was in there and you had to get it developed at your drugstore, right? So they go through about their day. They don't see anything suspicious. It's a quiet day.
Right, when he took the photo, he didn't see anything behind her.
Correct. Until he takes the photo, gets it developed at the store, and he comes back a few days later because for us old people, we remember you have to wait a few days for the film to get developed.
That's right.
So he goes and gets it.
Which is kind of creepy because other people are looking at your photos.
I know, that always creeped me out. But that's neither here nor there. But so the developer of the photos, the guy who's working at the store, says, here's your photos. He's like, boy, these are great photos of your daughter. It's, God, this guy in the back here, he ruined your shot. That's so annoying. It's such a nice shot. And Templeton says, what guy? There wasn't anybody else there. He looks at the 3 photos. The first photo and the third photo have no one there behind her. The second photo is the one, and if you want to see the photo, it's up. You can take a look on the 850WFTL Instagram, also 850WFTL.com, and Twitter and Facebook. We have the photo up so you can see what we're talking about.
It definitely looks like a spaceman, and here's her dad, Jim Templeton, about it.
That's the question. Who is it? Where's he from? Those are the 2 questions. What else?
And that's the thing, and that's something that people still ask to this day, almost 60 years later, is where did this guy come from? Again, 3 photos taken consecutively, and in the second photo only, you see this figure, what looks like to be a spaceman. They say spaceman because it looks like they're dressed in all white. It looks like a visor above where the eyes are. And it just stands there with basically his or her hands on their hips, standing in the background, in the foreground, behind his daughter in the picture. So they don't know, they had no idea what it was. Of course, rightfully so, Jim Templeton was freaked out. He said, who is this person standing behind her? We didn't see anybody. And so he sent it to the police. He actually went to the police.
Right, and then they got Kodak involved, right?
They did. The police were like, well, we don't know what to do.
Which, by the way, I have to correct myself. Did you know that Paul McCartney's wife, Linda Eastman, her dad's name was Epstein and he changed it to Eastman. She had nothing to do with Eastman.
Okay, good. So now we know.
0. I thought this is how
That's
she
right.
met him because of this whole
You said that at the end of the episode last week.
Sorry, I was completely wrong.
No, that's okay. So basically what ends up happening from there is, and I know we have more sound from John.
Yeah.
Maybe we can explain a little bit too.
This is what he said. He was recalling what happened when he spoke to the BBC in an interview right before his death in 2011.
So we went out on the normal outfit and picked our spot, sat down, and I said, no, I'll take some photographs of you with the new dress on. Never expecting this down.
Right, and it's amazing when you say that, Karen. 2011, he dealt with this his entire life. That's almost 50 years when he took that picture, and he still got questions about it because the questions have never, still 10 years after that interview, been conclusively answered. There's really just assumptions. There's conjecture, right? There's educated guessing.
Yeah, I mean, for ufologists, it was clear. They said it's a white spacesuit, a helmet, dark visor, and they believed that Mr. Templeton photographed a spaceman.
And that's so if you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, obviously he faked the picture, he did some type of double exposure trick, they were doing that back in the 1890s. I get that.
Yeah, they used to do that. They would pretend that you had spirits.
Yes, that's right.
Ghosts.
And it was actually like a little industry that these guys were making a lot of money, these photographers saying, oh, we can, take a photograph of your dead loved one, and they would be taking old photos and doing double exposures.
Ooh.
Not very nice, but this was not that. So how do we know that? Because after Jim Templeton went to the police and to the newspapers, he went to Kodak itself.
Yeah.
And actually Kodak reached out to him because it was becoming kind of a big story in the news.
Well, when you said he took it to the police in Carlisle, they declared there was nothing out of the ordinary from the photograph. And then they contacted Kodak, and they said the same and even offered a reward to anyone who could prove the photo was faked. And it was never claimed, by the way.
Right.
And then there was a media frenzy because it came to the attention of the local newspaper, the Cumberland News.
That's right.
And there it ran, and it was picked up by the Daily Mail and Express, which are the only newspapers to trust these days. And then there was this Dr. David Clark, an author on UFOs, and he picked up on it, and it just got weirder and weirder. Then came the visit from the Men in Black.
Yeah, so that was a weird one too, because after Kodak looked into this, they said, well, we didn't doctor this photo. Whatever this is, it's real. I mean, the people, the heads of Kodak investigated it, and they came to the conclusion, this is not a fake photo.
You mean not CGI, Stephen?
That's right, yes, there was not CGI. It was not a 1964, neither here nor there. Which makes it even more interesting, because now we have photos of UAPs, UFOs,
Oh,
or
yeah.
aliens or whatever. There's so much speculation now, especially that things are fake, because you can always say that, oh, well, someone did that on their computer using a MacBook or whatever. But this is done with an original roll of film in 1964, so that's why this thing has been so hard to explain for the 60s.
So these Men in Black that came to visit Mr. Templeton, he was asked to be taken to the spot with the picture,
That's right.
and the two Men in Black referred to each other as number.
What was in the photo was a year's worth of free film.
Oh.
I think that might be a little outdated now. If anybody's
I was going to say, who uses film? But so what happened was the thing went viral.
It did.
If it could in the 60s.
Right.
And it made it to the newspapers in Australia.
Yes.
And there they were stunned. Because the figure they said looked like the same guys, the same figures that they saw close to a missile.
That's right.
And here's Mr. Templeton on this Australian spaceman missile thing.
The men that was at the station where they were firing first Bruce Street rocket, they saw on the monitors somebody in the firing area, and of course the countdown was stopped. They searched the area, nobody to be found, not a soul. And it was put down as a technical fault. But those two men, whoever they were, reckoned when they saw the picture that was flown in, that it was exactly the same type of man, same dress, same figure, same size as the picture that was taken on Bushman.
So the plot thickened because the Blue Streak had been built by the RAF, the Royal Air Force,
Right.
just a few miles from where Mr. Templeton took the picture of Elizabeth. That's the girl's name. And as the story gathered momentum, it was also claimed that a UFO was seen at Woomera, which was in Australia.
Right, so that's the weird connection here. So you have this missile being built. It was a secret project called Project Blue Streak. It was basically a ballistic missile that the Royal Air Force of England was attempting to build and to test in order to defend themselves.
So
during-
let's test it on the Australians.
It was kind of like their secret base in Australia. So these two figures,
Well, that's where they send all their convicts.
yeah, right, these figures that were seen by the missile site matched the figure seen in the picture. So it makes you wonder, and they had to scrub that launch, by the way, because these guys were like right next to the missile on the launch pad. So like, who are these guys next to the missile?
They weren't there. They weren't Australian guys.
Right, so they actually had to scrub that launch, that test flight. Eventually it went off, like a week later, but at first, and then they realized, wait, this mysterious figure in the picture at Solway Firth matches the two guys that were mysteriously on the launch pad at Australia testing this ballistic missile from England. So how do you have these figures who look the same on two different continents, essentially, almost within the same time period? And like you said, it was being built not too far away from where Jim Templeton was, where he took this picture. So it's very odd.
And we know that aliens and UFOs show up to, we did our one podcast, it was the second one about
Malmstrom Air Force
Malmstrom
Base,
Air Force.
right.
Same idea. They want to make sure we don't blow up the Earth because it will affect the entire universe.
So, and that's the thing.
So maybe
about
they were checking it out.
Maybe. I mean, this was 1964. Malmstrom Air Force Base was 1967. So it's 3 years apart. Where Malmstrom Air Force Base, again, that was episode 2. If you want to check it out, we talked about how these UFOs were seen over the Air Force Base there in Montana, I think.
Yeah.
I always forget. I think it was Montana. And they disabled nuclear missiles there.
They did.
The Air Force Base.
For like 20.
Right.
And then they worked fine after that. This
It makes you wonder, Karen, the connection between different things like this. Can we connect Malmstrom Air Force Base, which is 1967, to these two incidents in 1964, where you have the picture of this mysterious figure in the white, seemingly looking spacesuit, to two figures in the same suit at a launch pad where a rocket was being built not too far away from where the first figure was.
Right, and then they said that there was a UFO seen in Woomera, which was near that area. It's in Australia as well. So,
Right.
there's a lot of weird things going on.
And I'll close out with this, the final theory here that is, I guess, the accepted theory because people don't know what else to make of it. So I should say the accepted theory at this point by skeptics is that that was Jim Templeton's wife in the background.
Right.
And they say that because basically they chalk it up to photo experts, modern day photo experts, chalk it up to overexposure, the sunlight
A
affects the
flare.
picture. It made her look very white, and that was actually her hair that you saw with the visor. And to me, right, it doesn't make any sense because, again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, 3 consecutive photos. It wasn't like these were 5 minutes apart.
And don't you think if she was standing behind her with a bag, she would have said, honey, would you please move?
Right.
Good God.
I mean, the husband, Jim Templeton's going to say, hey, let me take this picture. By the way, he
Because if
didn't know
if
that
it's
she
the
was
brownie box, you hold it down and you look, the viewfinder was on top of the
Right.
camera. Remember that?
Yes.
And so you're like looking through, and the viewfinder was like 3 inches by 3 inches.
So that might be an accepted theory to some, but to me, Karen, the mystery of the Solway Firth spaceman.
That's the question. Who is he? Where's he from? Those are the two questions we want answered.
That wraps up UAP.
Check it out again wherever you get your podcasts. Check out Unidentified Alien Podcast, UAP on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and listen to the other episodes.
Yeah, give us 5 extraterrestrial stars. We love you.
Check out UAP episode number 8 next week, where it's going to be a surprise.
Oh, goody.
What it is. You have to tune in.
Oh, my God.
So,
As a small business owner, my favorite thing about posting
you're safe from identity theft. Visit McAfee.com/online protection today to get award-winning online protection for just $39.99 your first year. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel any card. Terms apply.
Right, welcome to episode 8 of UAP Unidentified UAP podcast. Lee, Stephen here. Karen Curtis right next to me over here. Karen, how are you?
I'm well, Stephen. Thank you very much.
That's good.
And you know, I like to start out our podcast with a little tidbit of trivia.
Yes, you do. That's true.
Well, scientists have conducted tests that reveal Stonehenge is made from a nearly indestructible ancient material.
That is some interesting trivia,
Well,
Karen.
the rare core sample removed years ago contains a form of quartz that doesn't erode or crumble.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up here today because last week when we ended the episode, we said this week was going to be a surprise. We, normally we like to give you a little preview.
The topic.
Yeah, of what the topic is, for the next one. So this week we're going to be talking about some of the greatest, most, I guess you could say, mysterious, unexplained UAP, UFO mass sightings. So we have three in particular.
They're hard to refute when there's like more than just one dope out there going, oh, the lights.
Exactly. So we have three really interesting stories today to go into that, but it's interesting that you bring up Stonehenge because next week, here's an early tease for next week, it's going to go into more of the ancient alien side of things. So, but that's next week. Today we have mass sightings.
Like, who built all these places? By the way, these stones, apparently, the geochemical composition was made from 99.7% quartz crystals, stones practically indestructible, according to a study, and the study was made possible by a diamond cutter, Robert Phillips. He died last year, rest his soul. And he should know, diamonds, hello. And he did repair work at Stonehenge in 1958. He actually helped to restore and re-erect a fallen trilithon. Of 3 stones. The trilithon has the stone on top. He had to drill into stone 58.
So this is
Look, there's the moon. The moon. Got it pointing at the moon. You want to get water out of my truck? Or is there enough water?
I got some water.
I'm gonna park here. Check out the moon.